Hi guys, just on to chapter 2 of the poker coaching, if we can call it that, or I would say it's more poker style suggestion. So basically, I've said to you while you're experimenting doing this, when you get to level 5 onwards, not to call and not to call a 3-bet and not to call a raise. So it's all very well me saying that. But what are you going to do when you get the hands that you normally would call with? Your Jack Queen suited, your King Jack, King Queen, these sort of hands you may have previously been calling with. So while we're doing this style, what my recommendation is that you either fold or 3-bet with these hands. So there's a big difference there. How are you supposed to know when you should fold and how are you supposed to know when you should 3-bet these hands? Now, some people might have quite a rigid thing. They say, well, if I've got ace queen, I 3-bet with that, and if I've got ace 10, I fold with that. But it's actually not the hand strength is probably one of the least important things at this stage. Obviously, it's important, but the things that are going to determine whether or not you fold or 3-bet, bear in mind we're not calling, these are the things to consider. The table position of the initial raise. If it was early table position, then obviously their range is much stronger, and that would lead me into folding these marginal hands I've been talking about. Also hands like 7-8 suited as well. I would be folding these hands at these stage to an early table position raise. So table position, probably one of the most important factors, not your table position so much, but the table position where the initial raise came out of. The second thing that I'd say is most important is your opponent's style. Is your opponent somebody who often opens, is an aggressive player, often 3-bets? Now, these players that often open and often 3-bet, and I'd probably include myself in that sort of category, they have to do something to balance out. They can't be totally aggressive everywhere, otherwise it'd be exploitable and people would soon get onto it. So they have to, if they're going to be overly aggressive in one area, they have to be overly passive in another area. So quite often players that raise a lot and 3-bet a lot will be folding to 3-bets. Now these type of players are the ones that you will 3-bet with your Jack 10 suited, 7-8 suited, King 10 suited, unless it's an early table position raise. That's at the first point that I brought out. The next thing to consider is your table position. If there's still people to act after you, then you may go on the slightly sort of tighter side. It also means if there's people to act after you that the initial raise was probably fairly early. So think about your table position. The next thing is the stack sizes. Ideally, we're going to be in a situation where you can 3-bet and fold. But if you can't 3-bet and fold because of either their stack or your stack, then it might be a case that you say, well, I don't want to get it all in with my King Jack suited, so I'm just going to let this go. Because if I 3-bet, my opponent's got a stack where I have to call off if he goes all in. But if you're both very, very deep, you know that you can 3-bet with King Jack suited and fold to a 4-bet, so it's not a problem. Also hands, I know people don't often like playing like ace 2 and ace 3. Now, typically early table position fold these hands, but if it's a button raise from a really aggressive player, and I know that player folds to 3-bets a lot, then I'm going to be 3-betting hands like that as well if I'm in the small blind or the big blind. Again, as long as you can fold to a 4-bet, because you don't want to get it all in with these hands. And if they come across on 4-bet and you say, oh, well, I'm priced in, then you have to call. So the other thing is the stage of the tournament. People typically get tighter as it gets close to the bubble and on the final table. Whereas actually, if they're doing that, then you want to be doing the opposite and exploiting the fact. So you probably would open a bit wider. Just one thing: if you're say a big stack at a table, or you've got a reasonable stack bigger than others, the people that you want to target with your three betting are the medium stacks, not the other big stacks, because you don't really want to get into a war with them, and not the short stacks, because the short stacks are going to say, "Oh, I've only got 14 bigs. I'm going to get it in if he three bets me." So, but the ones that've got everything to lose are the medium stacks. So they're the sort of ones that you want to be thinking. And the other aspect about whether you should three bet or not, well, how strong your hand is, I guess. So, but it's not the first thing. The first thing, I mean, unless you've got aces or ace king premium hand, and then you're thinking, right, unless you're going to be cute with it, you're going to three bet those hands. So that's not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about is what you do with the marginal hands. So when you can't call, when I've tied your hands in a way to not calling. So why am I teaching or suggesting a style that is clearly exploitable because it's too aggressive? Simply because you will get away with it a lot of the time, especially on Sky, especially six-handed, especially at this sort of £11 turbo sort of buy-in level. So when I play on other sites and stuff, I have to sit back a lot more often because one, on nine-handed, on Stars or Party, they're getting in before me and I can't open anyway. And I'm getting a lot of resistance. They're playing much more aggressive, and I actually turn into a bit of a nit when I play on those sites a lot of the time because, as I've alluded to earlier, I'm doing the opposite of what my opponents are doing. But you find on Sky, certainly in the current sort of environment, at the level that I'm saying, that this will be very, very effective. If people, so how do we counter our own style of play? Well, you counter our own style of play by three betting. If opponents are playing like I'm suggesting, if me, you three bet them quite light. You might call them and float flops. This is not how I'm asking you to play. This is the signs to look out for. When people start doing this to you, then you might need to reconsider how you're playing. My advice and a style, it's not rigid. It's a case of if you can open raise 30% of the time and get 70% of folds, then that's great. Play the style. But if you're not, then you have to sit tighter. But still no calling at this stage for this thing. Also, Misty sent me an email just to sort of explain a little bit about pot odds, a little bit about EV, and a little bit about equity. So they are all interrelated in a way, but they're also sort of very different things. I'm just going to very quickly just go through a couple of bits on that. Pot odds can be used in different sort of ways. Let's say that there's 300 in the pot, you're the pre-flop aggressor, you bet 100, and under the grounds that if you get any resistance, you're going to sort of fold later on if they re-raise you or if they call or whatever. So, but you're getting pot odds. If you bet 100 into a pot, 300, you're getting pot odds of 3 to 1. So that means that effectively you've only got to be successful with that bet 25% of the time, because you're going to win, including the 100 that you put in, you're going to get 400 back. So for everyone. So that would be pot odds of 3 to 1. Other ways that it's used is that, let's say you've raised you three bet and they've called you and you've got ace king of clubs, say for example. There's 5,000 in the pot and it comes with two clubs on the board but no ace or king, and you bet 2,000 in with the nut flush draw. Your other opponent goes all in for 5,000 and it's 3,000 for you to call. So how do you calculate the pot odds there? Well, there's 5,000 already in the pot. There's 2,000 that you put in that if you fold, that you're going to lose, and there's the 5,000 bet that your opponent's just made. So there's 12,000 in the pot. So that means that you've got to put 3,000 more to make the call. So you're getting pot odds of 4 to 1 because you're putting 3,000 in to win 12. Bear in mind your initial 2 would be lost if you didn't call. So with the nut flush draw, obviously you're going to make that call because you're getting 4 to 1 pot odds with that last final bet. So then you can look at estimated value, where you can say, well, okay, and sometimes people think it's equity values. No, it's estimated value. So you could see that by putting 3,000 in there, that obviously it's going to be what they call plus EV, because over the course of time you're going to make a profit doing that play, regardless of the other bets that happened before that. So just to give a little bit of a definition of estimated value, let's just take it away from poker first, just to understand. So let's say that you flip a coin and you have to pay £1 to enter, and every time you get it right you get £3 back. So if you say a tail and it's a tail, you get £3 back. So you can say you're going to get it right 50% of the time, because it's going to be a head or a tail. So you pay £1 each time, and say after 10 goes you've got half of them right. So you've paid £10 and you've got £15 back, because 5 times you get the £3. So that would be a situation that's called plus EV by 50%, because over a course of time your estimated value, it's not going to be exact because you might have a bad run or whatever, but your estimated value is going to be that you win, for every £10 you stake, you win 15. So it's a plus EV of 50%. Sorry for those that already know this, it's just I'm specifically been asked this, so I'm tackling it. So let's pick another situation. Let's say that you roll a dice, and every time you get a 6 you win £4. You've got to pay £1 to enter it again. Every time you throw a 6 you win £4. So you could say that when you throw it 6 times, on average you're going to get 6 once. So you would have had to pay £6 for 6 throws and you get £4 back. So for every £6 you pay to enter, you get 4 back. So that would be a situation that's minus EV by 33%. The estimated value is 33% less than your stake. So you're always looking for something that is plus EV, situations that are plus EV. Equity, which is a different thing again, typically, like say you've got some shares, you've got 100 shares in something, and it's they're worth £2 a share, then the equity of those shares at that point in time is £200, because it's £2 per share, you've got 100 shares. So your equity at that time is £200. Now in poker, the term fold equity is very important, and that is, say you get it all in with a nut flush draw, you check raise all in, you've got a certain amount of equity if they fold, and that's called the fold equity, and that is that how much you're going to win based on them folding. Now if they call and you've got nut flush draw, you still might win, which just so that's basically equity. And fold equity is any sort of extra value you get on the basis that they may fold. It's typically used when you're in with when you go in with a strong draw. You've got 2 types of winning, 2 ways of winning. They can fold, or you can or they can call and you can hit your flush. Which leaves me one most important thing, getting back to the 3 betting. People often pay attention to how often people raise and how often do people 3 bet. They say, oh, this aggressive player, he's always raising, he's always 3 betting. What they don't pay enough attention to, and one of the most important things, is how often does somebody fold to a 3 bet. When they've opened and they've been 3 bet by you or by someone else, how often do they fold to that 3 bet? Obviously you can understand that if we're playing a style where we're rarely calling or never calling as we're going through this exercise at these levels, if you're doing that, then you need to know how often your 3 bet's going to get through. How often is your 3 bet going to get through? It's based on how often your opponent folds to a 3 bet. So you need to take notice of this, and you need to take notice of what situations he's folding to 3 bets. Does he fold early table position raises to 3 bets very often? Or is it typically that when he raises on the button in the cutoff that he's folding to a 3 bet? These things are most important. One of the most important things, so pay attention very much so to how your opponent, whether or not your opponent folds to a 3 bet. Also guys, these videos are for you, and I've covered the last minute on the basis of Jez's request to just talk a little bit about pot odds, estimated value and equity. So hopefully I've done that. Now, if you're having any difficulties or you're getting in spots that you want me to address, or you can even send hands to me, then I'll make a video on those to address those points, provided it's sort of within the structure of the style that we're playing. If, say, for example, you said to me, right, well, I called in the small blind, I hit second pair, and he bet and I called. It came in brick on the turn, he bet again, and I didn't know what to do. I'll say, well, I don't know what to do either. You know, that's not my sort of style of play. I try to avoid those spots. If you want help with that, you probably need to talk to my son, because he's far better at those situations than I am. But we're not putting ourselves in those situations. It's not, and also, you know, if you did ask anybody about that situation, it's going to be lots of it depends, you know, and it depends on the opponent's style, it depends on your image, it depends on, you know, so many things. So, but if you've got questions, if there's any way that you're struggling to implement what I'm suggesting, then let me know. Hopefully this photo quality is a little bit better because I'm using my phone camera rather than the laptop camera. So best of luck, hope you get on alright, and do come back with questions and areas that you want me to expand on further, or if you're having any particular difficulty, something's not working, like if you're doing it but you're not getting the 70% of folds, or if you know, if you know, just let me know and then I can do a small video. These are for helping for you guys, so I'm happy to do them. I'm happy to do them in a bespoke way that to advise you, if you like, or make suggestions to you based on any areas that you may be struggling with. So hope it's going all right for you, and I'll and hope you're winning at the tables, and until the next chapter, best of luck. Cheers, bye.